Welcome to the Green Building Show, where we investigate green design and building trends throughout Australia.
In this series of the Green Building Show, we're putting weatherboards under the microscope. Last week, we spoke to Dylan Falecki, the building manager on Channel 10's The Living Room, and got his expertise and advice on weatherboards. This week, we'll be speaking to architect Jo Gillies, the director at Archisoul Architects. Australia's love affair with the ocean and the great outdoors has meant that the aesthetic of a weatherboard home has held a place close to our hearts for well over a century. As design and building trends have changed and evolved over time, our love for the charm and allure of a weatherboard home never seems to wane.
It's a romantic notion, but brick just doesn't kind of cut the mustard a little bit when you're like on a beach scenario. It's a romantic notion of something that's, it's more flexible or more flowing, or it's got that lovely kind of like you're going along the beach and you're picking up some driftwood. It has that type of feel to it. You don't walk along the beach and pick up a brick. It's like it has a resonance to memory and to sentimentality. So yeah, it is something that people love around beach culture.
We asked Jo to talk us through the design flexibility of weatherboards.
The composite timber ones are starting to get a bit more similar, but the fibre cement ones basically are a very durable and good composite, but they're also more even and more uniform, so we can actually get the dovetailing and the matching in of the joints and the way that they're put together. And we can also look at different sizes, so we can look at panels of it or composites of it or different profiles of it a lot better than you can with timber, straight timber. So you can have like heritage profile or a clear modern profile, so that the way that they clip and they put into place are actually easier to build with and easier to use. So that's the ease of construction.
So why do people choose weatherboards for external cladding?
It is lighter in look, and sometimes people do a combination, so they do a combination of stone and they do a combination of brick and a combination of weatherboard. But usually around the beach area, it's also to do with its durability and the fact that it's also more cost effective, but you can also achieve a higher R rating, which is a thermal transference of cool and heat loss gain, and also it's easier to build on site, so they can order the materials. So it has a number of overriding factors that are easier on a beach environment.
And what about picking weatherboards for houses away from the beach?
Even inland, they still have very good thermal properties, and they're relatively maintenance free, but they're also easier to use and to also deliver to site if the site is further out. The freight costs are more cost effective.
So why choose fibre cement weatherboards over timber?
Straight timber has to be cured and kilned, and it has to be treated in such a way that makes it something very special, it's very bespoke, very custom. Whereas the uniform products of fibre cement is actually easier to access, easier to get the products. It doesn't need anywhere near the amount of attention that a beautiful bespoke piece of timber would. And it's very much the right scenario for the right situation of those particular items. Like we love using timber windows, for example, to go with the weatherboard. But straight timber panels, if you think of the old heritage places from yesteryear, or Wild Frontier, where they just had timber planks and they just nailed them in. The timber panels have come a long way since then, but they used to buckle and they used to have to be cut at a certain temperature and kilned and dried at a certain temperature. And there's none of those issues with the fibre cement products.
Through her design work, Jo is trying to achieve peace, synergy and the beauty in our built environment.
It's a love for the environment and a passion for creating people's dreams, but it's also leaving behind a legacy of something that's more in tune with the environment and the earth.
We asked Jo to tell us why she prefers to use weatherboards over other types of external building materials.
I suppose with weatherboard, I've been a huge fan of it, more so for 20 years than I ever had brick. And it's probably a selfish reason, in that I remember when I was at university to have to sit there and count bricks and metric bricks when I was doing all my measured drawings, and weatherboard was so much easier to work with as an architect. But apart from that, it is an easier product if you have you're doing cuts on site, and you can cut them down, and you can use them in vertical applications and horizontal applications, and you can create differential patterns just like nature does. Whereas brickwork is now starting to come up a little bit. It was never like that 20 years ago. They're reinventing themselves again. But you still have to use metric guides for sizes, and you have to know what they are before you start designing. Whereas with weatherboard, it's a little bit like cutting a cloth, so you can cut it to whatever length you like and work accordingly with those lengths. It's easier.
Next week will be our final episode on weatherboards. We'll speak to weatherboard technician Ronnie Nunez and get him to run us through the technical side of weatherboards.